Hello and welcome to another AIC video. With the rollout of Windows 11 and the shutdown of support for Windows 10, cheap 5th, 6th, and 7th gen Core i5, i7 laptops have hit the market, and you can pick up a pretty nice 14-inch business class laptop for under $100 pretty easily. But what is it like to live with a laptop that's now around a decade old? In fact, this one here is 11 years old at this point, released January of 2015 and is now 2016, or excuse me, 2026. Wow. So I wanted to kind of give it a bit of an experiment, and this is my zBook 14G2, and I got it updated with the latest version of Windows 11. Thanks, Rufus. And we're going to spend a month with this as my only computer. Not my only laptop, but my only computer, with two small exceptions. One being my work laptop for hopefully obvious reasons, and two, the computer that we have hooked up to our main television that we use to watch videos and stuff at home. That means replying to comments, YouTube, Reddit, editing videos even, maybe some gaming on this laptop, to see if it's worth having one of these systems, keeping it around and using it. Obviously, Windows 11 is pushing people out of older systems artificially, and as you can see, I'm running Windows 11. You can install it with a little bit of a workaround, but it's not officially supported. So why this specific laptop? First and foremost, I already own it. I don't have to buy something new. But as you can see here, this is a video I posted about 5 years ago, where I said that this is the best laptop ever, in my opinion. I sold my original zBook 14, the first gen one, quite a while ago, and I upgraded to this G2, but they're basically identical outside of a minor CPU and GPU upgrade. From what I can tell, it's only about a 3 to 6% increase in performance between the two, so not a lot of upgrade there, honestly. But some of the reasons why I stated the fact that I thought it was the best laptop was, one was that it was extremely portable. This is a very thin laptop for the day that it came out. The zBook 14 especially was significantly thinner than the T440. It was significantly thinner than the W530 I had been using at the time. And so, being that I had to carry the laptop everywhere I went, that portability was pretty important to me. Newer laptops obviously outclass this pretty easily, but at the time it definitely was true. Even 5 years ago, it was still pretty true as far as portability goes. I said that it was pretty feature rich and gives a lot of ports for users, which is true. We got a couple USB ports, VGA, smart card reader, which nobody uses. We have the dock for the port for the dock. We have a HDMI, Ethernet port, a couple more USB ports. We have our display port. We also have a SD card reader down here on the bottom. So lots of ports in this fairly diminutive package for its time. The keyboard, I said, was really good, which I think still holds up, that this is not one of the best keyboards I've used, but a pretty good one, especially compared to a lot of the other laptops I was looking at the time. Also, it's kind of funny, the backlight on here functions quite differently than most backlights. It seems like even with ThinkPads they're on or off, and after a while they just turn off. This one you can set it to where, go ahead and wake it up, where it will actually come on at a key press, but then if you haven't touched a key in a while, it'll turn off and will turn back on again at your next key press. So it doesn't just sit there being on second battery, but it's always on when you want it to be on. So I haven't seen another keyboard that has that feature. The trackpad as well is pretty big for the time that it came out, but it still has physical keys, which I really like. Having physical buttons for the trackpad is something I really miss on modern systems. One thing of the things I praised that definitely didn't hold up were the speakers. I don't know if the ones in this specific laptop are worn out and old, but they're just not very good. They might have been good compared to the ThinkPads at the time, but compared to more modern systems, they're not good. So that's definitely something that I should go back and redo. Another thing that I gave credit for is just how upgradable this system is. Go ahead and plug it here. to make any changes or maintenance this system, the whole back cover comes off that easily, and we have access to fairly robust upgrades. We have an SSD slot, we have the slot for the WAN, we have our 2 RAM slots, we have the SATA SSD drive. You can clean out the fan, access to the battery, access to Wi-Fi as quickly as that. Now, as far as being able to repaste the CPU and GPU here, there's about 50 screws, I think I counted, that you have to undo. So that part is not easy. That part was a pain in the butt because you have to take this whole back panel off. As you can see, the heat pipe goes underneath. And it's so funny because they could have not had this bridge here and had a little bit more cut out right here in the center, and it wouldn't have been a problem. But they decided that you had to take out the magnesium chassis for that, which gives it a very sturdy feel to the laptop. It does make that particular maintenance a bit of a pain to do. That being said, this is still one of my favorite laptops ever. Part of the nostalgia of it being the first real decision I was ever able to make as a systems engineer. I wasn't beholden to every purchasing decision being made by others. I finally had a decision-making ability, and it really is the right computer for me. Even today, I'm typing up this whole review on this laptop, and I'm actually really excited for this month. We'll see if my fondness holds up after the 30 days or 31 days, if I'm still happy with it after I'm forced to use it for that amount of time. I definitely am going to miss the gaming performance of my P1 and the screen of my P1. So some of the initial issues I see right off the bat, battery life. This laptop never really had great battery life, even when it was new. It has a pretty small battery, and it has dedicated graphics and not the most efficient CPU out there. And so also that battery is also getting pretty old at this time, so it's not running at full capacity. So we're not going to get a very great battery life on here. Another concern definitely is just general performance. It's just a dual core 4-thread processor from 2015. It's not a very performant. It wasn't a fast CPU then, and it's definitely not a fast CPU now. And so that is something to definitely consider with this machine. Some of the games I've been playing definitely won't even install on here, won't run with the GPU. It just doesn't have enough video memory. So I'm going to have to mix up what I'm playing on here. Probably the biggest workload I'm going to be doing is my video editing for my YouTube channel. I do record all of these in 4K video, which does, affect performance. Makes the system work a lot harder. And the GPU doesn't have the same video editing codecs and stuff built into it that newer GPUs have. And it definitely makes a big difference. I also plan on doing some 3D modeling for my 3D printer. Nothing crazy, just editing some STLs for my 3D printer so I can print some stuff for my wife and my kids. Another issue is the RAM. This is absolutely maxed out at a full 16 gigs, which I think is kind of the bare minimum to run Windows 11 at this point. From a fresh reboot, it sits at about 3 to 4 gigs of memory used without anything running. You open up a web browser or, heaven forbid, Teams. Teams is the worst when it comes to memory usage. My normal work laptop sits between 24 and 30 gigs used at any given time with all the stuff I open for work. So it has 2 RAM slots, each with 2 8 gig DIMMs, or each with 1 8 gig DIMM, so 2 8 gig DIMMs. There are 16 gig DIMMs out there. I've never owned them because they were a specialized product when they were new. They sold in pretty small numbers, have pretty low compatibility from what I've seen. It's real hit or miss if it will work in your system or not. And they have stayed very expensive. I haven't looked at prices recently, but they were, even when RAM prices were low, they themselves were very expensive. And so I've never bought them for my inventory. So I am interested to see how 16 gigs of memory holds up over time to daily usage. Because I've said for a while that 16 gigs is kind of the bare minimum you should have, but most systems I use, I have at least 32 gigs in because I just use a lot of RAM. Another thing that's going to be an issue for me is the screen resolution. It is a 1920 by 1080, which is a fine IPS panel. It's not the brightest, but it's good. It's not a bad screen at all. But I've been pretty spoiled with the much higher resolutions of my desktop monitor as well as my screen on my P1 Gen 7. And so I'm going to miss the higher resolution and the higher refresh rates. I think they're both 165 hertz panels. So definitely going to miss that in my day-to-day use. I just can fit more on the screen. So today is the 5th, Monday, January 5th. We'll be going through February 5th. I did spend January 4th, Sunday evening, spending a couple hours installing all the software I needed, updating Windows, doing all that jazz. So I can hit the ground running this morning and be able to use this hopefully for the next 30 days as my only computer. Wish me luck. Let me know if there's anything you want to see on the other end. If there's anything you want me to test, I won't be installing another operating system on here during this time. I need to use Windows. The things I need for my personal use require Windows at this time, and so that it hasn't changed. It isn't going to change in the next 30 days. I will be doing another experiment with Linux after this, so definitely keep an eye out for that. But that will be on a different system that I want to do that on. Anyways, thank you for watching. Hopefully you find this informative, and we will see you in 30 days with this particular series. Thank you.